The Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch, wears a dress that says to tax the rich, that probably costs more than most of your houses, at an event that costs $30,000 per ticket to enter. Yeah, no, that actually happened. You can't make some of this stuff up, folks. In other news, students sue Creighton University over COVID-19 vaccination and the lack of a religious exemption that comes from it. Amy Coney Barrett is concerned about public perception of the Supreme Court, saying it might get partisan. So we'll talk just a bit about that. And Twitter is cleared for throttling the Hunter Biden article by the Federal Elections Commission. You're shocked, I know. It's going to be all this and more. Hey, do you trust the plan yet? I'm J. Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is J. Edgar, and boy, oh boy, what an interesting story that we have towards the top of the stack coming up here today. I saw this thing, and then I figured out what it was for, because, you know, coming from that woman, I figured that it was just some sort of publicity stunt because I knew that New York Fashion Week was there. I figured maybe she'd just go walking down the street or something. Nope, she's at the Met fucking Gala. Seriously. In a dress that, like I said at the top of the show, probably costs more than most of your houses. You can't make this stuff up anymore. You just, it's beyond parody. What is it that Bridget likes to say? This is a fantasy? When parody becomes reality? I don't know. But anyway, we'll go over that. We'll go over some of this vaccine stuff. There's a lot of vaccine stuff today, by the way. A ton of it. That's like the vast majority of what we're talking about here. We'll talk about some of the Supreme Court stuff. We'll talk about some anti-CRT stuff. Mayor Lightfoot's going to sue gang members. That'll go over well. We'll talk about all that here and more over on Contemporary. But before we get started, make sure you check out the Porch Boys, who are going to be on for, I think they're episode 5 tonight. But go and check them out on their channel. They're picking up steam pretty quickly. They're doing well. They have a little bit of fun. It's a late night show. So go and check them out. Also check out the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, and the Freckles and Brit Show. Go check out all those programs. They're great friends to the channel. They're coming up and helping us out in an upcoming project that we have going on here. So definitely looking forward to that. But let's go ahead and get those people supported and support great creators out there. All right. Anyway, let's get into it here. Let's start off with the Dow for the day. It looks like we are sitting here looking at the Dow. The Dow went up yesterday, 34,869.63. Not quite to a record yet, but it did hold and go up 0.76% throughout the day. So, I mean, it looks like things are looking up, turning up, and possibly we'll see more as we go, but that's where it sits right now. I'm a little bit uneasy because I know that we're going to be having another big meeting today on inflation and what inflation means to the American people and what the Fed is going to do about it. So we will wait and see what happens with that. All right, looking in at the Bitcoin. Let's get a refresh on that. Your Bitcoin is starting to come up slowly. It's not a fast climb, but it's coming up slowly. Where we were at 44,000 yesterday, we're at 46,057 US dollars and 40 US cents. So some of the things are coming back on the rise, and I think the inflation is going to push this a little bit more. Your Bitcoin is on sale, so now is the time where if you want to get some, and this is not financial advice, but if you want to get some, now is the time because nobody should pay full price for that shit. Nobody should pay full price for Bitcoin ever. All right, on your scrap metal prices, it looks like your copper on the top is going in the upward direction again. Your steel is generally trending downwards, and your aluminum, again, is trending up. That's almost 10 cents over the beginning of last week. Aluminum has gone up, so hold on to your cans right now because it's probably not to the top yet. Your bare copper wire, copper tubing, flashing copper, thin wire, insulated. Looks like everything that's got copper in it, even brass right now, is going up right now. Some steel is up, brass shells are up, light iron is up, but your number one, your cast, your rotors, complete car, that's all down. Most of your aluminum is up. Looks like rims are still going down though, so various different things that have gone on throughout the day yesterday in the metal world, but you know, remember, that's really going to be your indication of how the economy is going on the ground for people who have to gather together cans sometimes to get ramen noodles so they can feed the family. That's where you want to watch if you want to see where the real people's economy is coming from. All right, let's read from CNBC for you guys. Dow futures are a little changed ahead of key inflation report. This is from Pippa Stevens. U.S. stock index futures were a little changed on Tuesday after the S&P 500 finished Monday in positive territory, snapping a 5-day losing streak. Futures contracts tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 20 points. S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100 futures were roughly flat. The Dow and S&P both advanced on Monday for the first time in 6 sessions as investors bet that some of the recent selling looked overdone. The Dow gained about 260 points, or 0.76% at one point during the session, rising nearly 1%. The S&P 500 advanced 0.25%. But the market's comeback was short-lived, with futures flat on Tuesday. Closely watched inflation data will be released on Tuesday when August Consumer Price Index reading is released. Economists are expecting consumer prices to have risen 0.4% month over month during August and 5.4% year over year. According to estimates from Dow Jones, the print comes after the producer prices jumped 8.3% a year over year during August, marking the largest annual increase since records were first kept in November of 2010. I'll bring this up just a little bit. Apple shares were slightly higher ahead of an event on Tuesday, where it's expected to announce the new version of the iPhone, AirPods, and Apple Watch. The major averages are all down at least 1% for September, and RBC doesn't see the S&P 500 surging into the end of the year. The firm based its year-end target for the benchmark to 4,500 on Monday, up from a prior target of 4,325. The new target is less than 1% above where the index closed on Monday. The firm introduced a 2022 year-end target of 4,900. So, as we're getting close to the year, the economists, the people who study and watch the Dow and the S&P and everything else, are starting to look at this and saying, we're not doing so hot here. We're not doing so well. And looking at this too, people are looking at it and say they've downgraded the S&P 500. It's not going to be able to do this anymore. But the inflation part, that's the part to watch here, because they're expecting another 5% plus month of inflation. That is 5 in a row. But don't worry, there's no problem here. It's transitory. Inflation is a good thing. It might make wages go up. But the reality is, the power of your dollar is fucking buck at this point. It's bump. It's nothing. As they continue to do this, they continue to print money, they continue to force money into the economy without having any production to come back up out of it. Now, yes, if you do print more money and you have the production to match it, that's not a bad thing. It's not the best thing in the world, but that's not a bad thing. But the fact that there's no production going with this is where we're getting these massive numbers from. I actually wouldn't be surprised, knowing the way that the government spends money, to know that we're actually not on pace for printing money right now. I don't know if that's true or not, but I wouldn't be surprised to know that we're not on pace for, how fast we print money and how fast the money printer goes burr, but we have no production backing it up. There's nothing. There's no gold standard there, so all the dollar is a share of the production, the GDP of the country. You starting to see where there's a problem here? We continue to think the S&P 500 will experience a bout of volatility, meaningful pullback before the year is up, a call that we've been making for the past several months due to elevated equity market sentiment and positioning, the firm wrote in a note to clients. While we take the reasons for pullback seriously, we also see economic recession risks as low, reducing the likelihood of a full growth scare and intend to treat it as a buying opportunity, RBC said. The Federal Reserve begins a 2-day policy meeting on September 21st. Stocks linked to the economic reopening, including airlines and cruise lines operators, rebounded slightly on Monday after the 7-day U.S. COVID case surge declined to around 144,300, down from roughly 167,600 cases per day at the beginning of the month. So, and, like I said yesterday, once we see the fact that we had a week of Dow being in the fucking tank, once we see those weak jobs numbers here, surprise, COVID got cured. Until the next time, we need to make a panic and try to control the people again. And then, oh my god, it's going to be the Mu variant. Or the Lambda. I saw somebody's comment, I think it was Chalaka yesterday. The Lambda variant, which only affects nerds. I'm ashamed to say I've never seen that movie. But I'm aware of what he's talking about in that movie. That's how I knew which movie it was. But I have never seen that movie. I looked up. I almost got it on Amazon the other day just because I want to watch it. Because I know it's such a big part of the 80s culture, but I have not yet seen that movie. Alright, anyway, let's move on. Let's grab one from Seeking Alpha. A little bit of a bullet points article, but we'll get through it really quickly because it's bullet points. Dow Jones, NASDAQ holds steady ahead of latest inflation report. From Yoel Minkoff. Another dose of inflation data will be released this morning, which has the potential to set the tone for the market before next week's Fed meeting. While the central bank has maintained that price pressures will be transitory, the Consumer Price Index is expected to show a 5% pace for the fifth straight month, by the way. Stronger inflation could also pose a problem, passing President Biden's social spending package and its massive $3.5 trillion price tag. Good, get rid of that shit. The CPI is forecast to have risen 0.4% month over month in August, translating into a year-over-year basis of 5.4%. That would be the same hot pace seen in July, which was among the fastest rates seen since 2008. Excluding the food and energy, today's CPI is expected to rise 0.3% or 4.2% on an annualized basis. If it's hotter than expected, I think the stock market's going to continue to be soft. I think investors are trying to decide whether there's more to this worry than not, noted CFRA Chief Investment Strategist Sam Stovall. After a mild comeback on Monday, futures largely held steady overnight. If inflation comes in hotter than expected, taper expectations could also shift from November to December. Some analysts already pushed back their expectations after the August jobs report showed a gain of just 235,000, about 500,000 less than expected. A number of Fed officials still believe the central bank should start paring back its $120 billion a month bond purchases sooner rather than later, but Fed Chair Jerome Powell wants to see more strong employment reports before making an announcement. So that's what's going on around your finance right now. Basically, everybody's sitting here waiting to see what the inflation is, but they're already expecting the worst. 5.4% for another month. How is this sustainable? How? I need the answer to that question. How do they think that this is sustainable? But apparently they think it's somehow sustainable because they continue to come out and say, oh no, it's transitory, it's going to go away, it'll be fine, just don't pay attention over here. And yes, I am pissed that in the last year of the Trump presidency, we had $6 trillion added to the national debt, along with the extra trillion that was added in the 3 years prior to that, because we spent out of our asses. And they continue to do so. They continue to want to put this $3.5 trillion up on the pedestal. What do you think that's going to do to your month over month after that? What do you think that's going to do? You're not spending that kind of money right now, and you're still seeing that kind of inflation. Yes, let's throw a bunch of printed money on top of this here, or ones and zeros, because a lot of this is just going to be done digitally. Shit. You remember, what was it last year at the beginning of the commie coup when Rashida Tlaib came out and said, the only solution that we have to this entire thing is to print $2 trillion coins and use the funds from that and put them onto a debit card for everybody in the country. We didn't do that, and we got $6 trillion of inflation. Or national debt, I'm sorry, not inflation. I think these people just want to crash the economy. Alright, anyway, we got to get on to this and get on to the big news of the day. Thanks for checking out the finance with me here. Before we get into the AOC news, we are going to go over this one because I want to make sure that this gets shared far and wide, because if we can save one life, that's what we want to do. We always want to come back and save one life if we possibly can. So this is from CBS 2 KUTV. Woman on U.S. road trip goes missing, last seen in Salt Lake City. From Jared Turner and Daniel Woodruff over at KUTV. Police in New York have asked for help from the public in Utah and Wyoming to locate a missing woman who traveled with her boyfriend through the Beehive State. Officials with the Suffolk County Police Department said Gabrielle Petito, 22, was reported missing over the weekend. The Long Island woman was traveling in a white 2012 Ford Transit, police said. The converted camper had Florida license plates QFTG03. You let your daughter drive across the country in a van? No, it was a little transit van. I mean, it wasn't like the big, windowless panel van or something like that, but still. Where's the parent on this? But I digress. That's a completely different story for a completely different thing. Nicole Schmidt, Petito's mother, told reporters that her daughter just wanted to have fun on a nice cross-country road trip. Petito had been chronicling parts of her trip on YouTube, including stops in Utah. Schmidt said she last received a text message from her daughter on August 30th. Petito was reported missing Saturday when family members were unable to contact her. She's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful soul inside and out, said family member James Schmidt. She is incredibly artistic, creative, loving, caring, free-spirited, and just a wonderful soul. So that is a picture of Gabby, I'm sorry. I just about said Nicole. That is a picture of the van, but I mean, it's very indescript. It's a white Ford Transit van. There are 10 million of them on the road. And that, I believe, is the boyfriend as well. The Suffolk County Police Department reported Petito was believed to have been last seen in Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming before the family stopped hearing from her. Petito's father, Joseph Petito, posted on social media that his daughter had been last seen traveling to Yellowstone from Salt Lake City. So, especially those of you out on the west, but I mean even anywhere else out in the country, if you see this girl, say something. Reach out, make sure that she gets found safe. Tell her to call home if you can make contact with her. Tell her to call her ma. Her mom's worried about her. And make sure that she gets home safe, if possible. Always got to do our public service out here. All right, let's start out with the stupid news of the day. From Marie Claire, which I'm pretty positive this is the first time I've ever read from Marie Claire on this show. But it's worth it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Met Gala dress had a stark message. From Catherine J. Igo. It's the first Met Gala for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. D-Twitch and the representative absolutely did not waste her moment. She's in a white Brother Vellies dress with matching Brother Vellies shoes, according to Vogue, with the back reading in bright red lettering, "Tax the Rich." It's very much in line with her policies. Clearly not, because she's at the fucking Met Gala. And also, an impressively impactful statement, given the visibility of the event. Her bag repeats the message, just in case we missed it the first time. I love her! I know, that's not me memeing about the fact that AOC is my future wife. That's actually in the article. I love her! Fans on Twitter also loved it and were impressed, particularly that she chose the high-fashion, star-studded event to do so. AOC wearing this dress at an event full of rich people. This woman has more balls than any man in Congress. Or, conversely, these are all the people that are going to pay her off to make sure that they have exemptions of the new tax law when she goes to, quote-unquote, tax the rich. And AOC wearing a Tax the Rich dress at the Met Gala with Kris Jenner over her shoulder. Wow, icon! According to Andrea Gonzalez Ramirez, there's another more subtle message in her look. She's also wearing a Flor de Maga, the national flower of Puerto Rico. AOC has advocated for Puerto Rico in the past, including civil rights and disaster relief. The Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez D-Twitch walked with Aurora Jones, who started the 15% pledge to bring 15% or more of black-owned businesses to major brands like Target, and is founder of Brother Bellies, in James' own words. We can never get too comfortable in our seats at the table once they've been given. We must always continue to push ourselves, push our colleagues, push the culture, and push the country forward. Fashion is changing, America is changing, and as far as the theme goes, I think Alexandria and I are a great embodiment of the language fashion needs to consider adding to the general lexicon as we work towards a more sustainable, inclusive, and empowered future. So let's look at the picture, shall we? There is, I'm guessing the person who designed the dress, but there is the dress right there. And of course, it's got to go right across her fucking ass. There's the other angle for it. It's like an Instagram model. Always taking a shot from the back and always looking back to make sure that you're looking right at her ass. There you go. There's another one. Text the Rick. Who the fuck is Rick? And the front, so deceptively simple. What, cargo pants? Look at the size of those pockets, or pocket flaps. Here's a picture of it in motion from the recount.
My God, tax the rich. What a model, AOC. What up? I didn't know you model as well. Damn.
What a model! Oh, I didn't know you model as well. Here's the thing. This is a one-of-a-kind. This is not something you're going to be able to go back and buy off the rack anywhere. Not that you would, because I can guarantee you this would have all kinds of repercussions if you went and wore this. If you're a girl, and I think this is mostly a male audience. I haven't seen Katie Zed in here yet either. But, I mean, if you're a girl and you wear a dress like this, I think you're going to turn a lot of heads at your family event and probably cause a lot of problems that you really don't want to come back and cause. I'm sure that that's going to... I don't see this dress going into production. I don't. Which means this is one of a kind, which, like I said, this dress probably costs more than a lot of your houses out there. This is probably easily a six-figure, maybe mid-six-figure dress. $100,000 to $500,000. I mean, it's tacky as shit, don't get me wrong, but this is easily because it's coming from a major designer, because it's one of a kind. This could easily be $500,000 for this dress, which is more than most of your houses cost. I know my audience. I know where a lot of you guys live. That's probably more than most of your houses cost. Not to mention the fact that she did this and pulled this stunt at an event where it cost $30,000 a ticket to get into. Tax the rich, though, right? Right? Did a donor buy the ticket for you? Did you buy the ticket yourself on your salary? Did you buy the ticket off of Young Turk's money? Did the designer buy the ticket for you? How much money does this designer have? Oh, I got my tweets mixed up here. All right, so... And Britt puts out probably the best tweet that goes along with this, with the same disclosed tweet that we were looking at earlier. I wonder how her abuela's house is doing. I think that's a fair question. You've just spent $30,000 to walk around in a $500,000 dress. Among people who are in $500,000 to $1 million dresses and $70,000 to $100,000 suits. How's that abuela's house going? Did you fix that yet? What about the fundraiser? Did you wouldn't take that money? How's your Tesla doing, by the way? Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez D-Twitch. And I know Twitter was a light with this thing too, because, I mean, that was the point of it. It was to get people out there so they can come out, and the lefties who go, oh, AOC, and they're actually not being ironic about it like I am. Oh my god, she's such a goddess, she's such a saint. They come out and say, oh, look at all the MAGA chuds that think that she's doing a bad thing here. Oh, it's the Met Gala. Hopefully one day I'll get to go. Once socialism gets in, it won't cost as much, and everybody will be able to get to go. It'll all be even. What a bunch of unmitigated, unadulterated fucking bullshit. Seriously. But, once again, her fans are going to let her get away with this. None of her fans are going to come up and see a problem with this. They're just going to look at this and they're going to say, oh my god, it's an amazing thing. Look how wonderful it is. Look how great this great Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is. Do you know how much money? Yeah. Do you know how many food banks you could fully stock? I hate to keep going on a rant on this. Do you know how many food banks could be fully stocked? On what it costs for that. Like, if you sold that dress on a charity right now, which maybe she's going to do. I will give her the benefit of the doubt, and maybe she's going to go do this. I doubt it, but maybe she'll go and sell this dress off on charity and get the actual amount of money that's off of there, because, hey, it's not like somebody who's rich is going to be able to go out and buy a tax-the-rich dress and then turn around and put all the money into a food bank somewhere. Or several food banks. I doubt it, but a guy can dream, can he? A guy can dream that a politician who thinks that everything should be given away to the poor people by coming away from the rich is going to do something for poor people instead of walking around and rubbing elbows with a bunch of fucking rich people. Anyway, that's all that I have for that. I see some good comments over here. It's a quiet day in, it is a quiet day in the chat today, but even still, there are some good comments that go on there. Yeah, Ron says it right there. The annual rent that she pays on her apartment in D.C. is more than the value of her house. Yes, I am poor. Yeah, plus she has another apartment in her district, which, hats off to her, she actually lives in her district. That's a rarity among New York politicians, but hats off to her for that. But yeah, she's got another one of those up there. All right, let's keep going. Let's start with a little bit of good news, I think. Let's start with this one here from Insider, archived, of course, because ad blocker. Job boards for workplace. Hold on, let's back up on look at this article one more time, this Marie Claire article, because I noticed something else going on here. Look, let's blow this up here so you can see all around.
Model, AOC.
Shut up. I don't want to listen to you, simp. Look around. This is New York, which, if I'm to the understanding, is back under a mask mandate, statewide, because Kathy Hochul said it's going to be. What do you not see anywhere in this video? What are two things you don't see here? I see no social distancing. I mean, these people are shoulder to shoulder with each other. And I don't see a single mask in sight. Why is that? Why is that, do you think? Alright, now we've had enough. Now let's go back and talk about Insider. Let's go talk about vaccine stuff. Job boards for workplaces that specifically don't require the pinko pox vaccine are popping up as more employers have started requiring the shot. From Kelsey Vlamis. I'm so happy to see this. I'm so happy to see tech guys that are going out and doing the Lord's work on something like this here. And we've seen this already. This is not something new. Let's read a little bit about this and I'll tell you why this isn't something new. Coffee, coffee, coffee. In my happy face coffee cup, by the way. That my roommate, when I lived in Kenosha, left behind, along with a lot of other stuff, because she moved out in a hurry. I think her boyfriend thought she was going to cheat on cheat on him with me or something. But yeah, she got out of that place in a hurry. Left all kinds of... I had a nice bowl that matched this here, and I used to eat oatmeal out of it every Sunday morning. And then it broke because I fell down the stairs with it. And I was sad. Job boards for sharing open roles at companies that do not require employees to be vaccinated against the pinko pox have been popping up online as vaccine mandates are becoming more common. One board is hosted on Gab, the social media platform that has been embraced by some conservatives and members of the far right, the evil far right. In an email sent to users on Wednesday, Gab CEO Andrew Torba announced the No Vax Mandate Job Board. Yeah, I got that email actually. I'm on Gab, I just never use it. The job board is for sharing job openings that do not require an employee to inject themselves with an experimental substance, which is totally safe, by the way, Susan. Don't ban me. Totally safe. Everybody should run out and get their vaccine right away, and everybody should have this and be forced to by the government because this is the safest thing in the world, and nothing bad could possibly happen by this. It's not an experimental substance. Don't ban me, Susan. Or violate their bodily autonomy and religious beliefs in order to retain employment. He wrote, adding that job seekers are welcome to post their resumes in the group. The group, which has nearly 30,000 members after just 2 days, was filled with messages from people looking for work that won't require them to be vaccinated. Blue State SR Talent Acquisition Group, core recruiter in large healthcare company, have worked remote for several years, but mandatory jab required. I won't comply, one post said. I'm professional. I've always received excellent reviews. Anyone need a great recruiter? Torba said Gab created the group in light of President Biden urging businesses to implement vaccine mandates after Pfizer-BioNTech's coronavirus vaccine received full approval from the FDA on Monday. I'm calling on more companies in the private sector to step up with vaccine requirements that will reach millions more people, Biden said during remarks at the White House. Some businesses have done so, with more and more announcing plans to mandate health vaccines for employees. Chevron, CVS, and Disney World all announced COVID-19 vaccine mandates after the FDA approval. Some local governments have instituted mandates for the employees, including Chicago and LA, while more may follow. The mandates typically allow for health and religious exemptions. Another site marketing itself to job seekers who are looking to avoid vaccine mandates, novaxmandate.org, says it believes no right is more sacred than the right of every individual to control their own person, free from all restraint or interference of others. The openings listing on the site range from a Pizza Hut delivery driver in Texas to a hairstylist at a Patriot-run small business in Arizona. There are multiple openings for nurses at rural nursing homes in Wisconsin and Minnesota, with listings that read, "No jab required, we are awake and serve God." Other listings include openings in healthcare settings in Texas, New York, and Michigan. The third site, Red Balloon, touts itself as the nation's first and only free speech job site. It said it would be taking a stand against forced vaccinations, announcing in a blog post it would be ramping up its operations to connect employers who are looking for employees regardless of their vaccination status. Public health officials continue to encourage Americans to get vaccinated as the U.S. confronts a surge in COVID-19 cases driven by the more transmissible Delta variant. A CDC study released Tuesday found that unvaccinated people were 29 times more likely to be hospitalized with COVID-19 than those who were vaccinated. Blah, 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 blah. As of Thursday, 51.9% of Americans were fully vaccinated, while 61.1% have received at least one dose. According to the CDC, I thought those numbers were higher than that, to be honest. I really did. But, I mean, this is important, too, and this is something that we need to look at here. When they say, go out and create your own payment process, your own internet, your own jobs, your own this, your own that, your own government, your own blah, 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 blah. This is the kind of stuff they're talking about, and these tech guys are doing the Lord's work by doing something like this. And this is not new, by the way. This is not something that's new. I hope you guys do remember the fact that there was a point where, and it started with Gab as well, by the way. There was a point where they had the job service that you could go to if you'd been fired by your job for saying mean or nasty things on the internet, for things that were not with the regular general consensus of oh no, we can't We can't deny people that they're little fifis. If you said something on the internet, got banned or got fired for it because somebody went after you on the internet, and they did a flagging brigade and went and called your employer, they had a job board. I believe it was called unwoke.com. I believe is what it was called. I don't know. I've never had to use it. Because above all things, my job is doing everything that they can to not require the vaccine for the employees. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're doing everything they can to not require the vaccine for their employees. And they also don't give a fuck what I say on the internet. Every once in a while, somebody from my job actually watches the show. They know exactly what it is that I say. They might not go to my Twitter, which is probably a good thing, but they at least watch what I say over here. But I have to be somewhat on my best behavior. My mom watches the show from time to time. She doesn't type really fast, so she doesn't really participate in the live chat with you guys, but she does watch the show from time to time. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If it is going to be this group mind think thing where you have to conform to everything, then yes, we should have the ability to go up and band together and create these jobs that don't require the vaccine and these job boards to help find the openings for people who are vaccinated but don't believe that everyone else should be vaccinated or are unvaccinated. We should be able to go find it, because I'm sure that a person who says, well, I got the vaccine because I felt it was the safest thing for my family, which I don't begrudge anybody for doing, by the way. I want to make that point blank clear. If you feel that's the best health choice for you and your family, that's cool. I might rib you a little bit and say, how's your self-reception? But for the most part, you made the assessment that was best for you and your family. And I have no problem with that. But I'm sure that these people who think the same thing of, oh, well, I got the vaccine, but I don't think my friend should be forced to do so if he doesn't want to. I'm sure that their days are numbered in corporate America too. So to get these postings here to connect people, like-minded people together, so we have the freedom of association, that people can all work together calmly in a similar belief system, that's a great thing. I love to see this kind of stuff. I love to see tech roll up and do this. All right, let's keep going. This one here is Fanning. Has anybody seen Fanning here? Because this apparently is right in his neck of the woods here. I have not seen any sort of a corroboration off of this, but I thought we could watch the video. Let's back it up to the beginning. Let's drop the music. Protesters against mandatory vaccinations chant "Fuck Joe Biden" on Brooklyn Bridge in New York City.
Fuck Joe Biden! 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 Fuck Joe Biden!
One more time!
Fuck Joe Biden! 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 Fuck Joe Biden!
So that was interesting to watch and definitely enjoyable off of this. And yeah, there are some of these people who are getting buyer's remorse about this guy. Now, yes, there's still going to be the hardened core fan base, but we don't know how big it is because, you know, these polling companies, these polling firms, they all push poll themselves to death to make sure that they get the result that they want. But even those polls are coming in underwater right now. Joe Biden is underwater, which, I mean, you can't be surprised because in spite of the fact that a lot of these people who are on the bridge probably voted for Joe Biden because orange man evil, orange man bad, let's get rid of the evil orange man. A lot of these people who are out here right now were probably the same ones who were also chanting out, I don't want to vote for Joe Biden. Please don't make me vote for Joe Biden. They're probably the same people. They're most likely the same people. So I'm glad to see some of the buyer's remorse. And remember this, when you go back to the ballot box next time, if you vote against somebody, you're going to get something you don't like. That was why, and A side note on this, before we get into the next article here, we are going to be a long stream today because I keep going off on tangents here. Side note on this, because I didn't vote against Joe Biden. I was not going to vote for a presidential candidate this past time through in 2020. I had some down ballot races that I wanted to go through and either do write-ins or people I wanted to vote for on down ballot races, but I was going to leave the top line blank on my ballot because I didn't believe in the Trump message anymore, and I don't believe in the Trump message anymore, but at the very last second, he said something about individuality and individual businesses, and I said, okay, cool. That was enough to push me slightly over the edge. I'm going to vote and endorse him kicking and screaming. The video's still on my YouTube, by the way. You guys ever want to go watch it, I can put a link in the Discord for it. But yeah, I voted for and endorsed him kicking and screaming because I hated the division that came in this country. I hated a lot of the things that came out of this country. I couldn't stand Jorgensen. Howie Long? He was fucking psycho because he's Green Party. And then, yeah, we had this demented old fucking fool that we have as the president now. But when you vote against somebody, you get your buyer's remorse like this. Alright, let's keep going here. We've got one from NBC News. Some more vaccine stuff. Comedian and SNL alum Jim Breuer cancels shows at venues requiring COVID vaccination. I didn't know he was on SNL. I guess I must not have watched seasons that had him on there. I think he's funny. I think he's hilarious. But I didn't know that he was still touring. This is from Alicia Fieldstad. Comedian and SNL alum Jim Breuer said in a Facebook Live over the weekend that he will not be performing at venues that require proof of COVID vaccination for guests. 2 quick updates on shows that you may think you'll be getting tickets to or already have tickets to. The Wellmont Theater in New Jersey, not doing it, Breuer said in the 22-minute Facebook Live. Also, the Royal Oak in Michigan, due to segregation of them, forcing people to show up with vaccinations. I'm also not doing those shows, said Breuer, who is 54. I know I'm going to sacrifice a lot of money, okay? But I'm not going to be enslaved to the system or money, the comedian added. That sounds slightly socialist, but we'll let him have a pass on that one. Breuer said getting vaccinated was a choice, and he didn't care what his fans might have to say about his decisions to cancel his shows. He said patrons were being forced and bribed before they could attend shows. If you have anything else to say, I honestly don't care, Breuer said. Due to, I have to stick to my morals. I have to stick to what I know is right. Breuer said in some cases he doesn't blame venues for enforcing vaccine mandates, but rather governors and ticketing vendors. He said the venues were being held hostages. Neither the Wellmont or the Royal Oak responded to requests for comment on Monday. More and more venues and localities are starting to require proof of vaccination for indoor entertainment as COVID cases continue to rise. Do we need to go back to the CNBC article? Because they're not continuing to rise anymore, NBC. And that's from your own affiliate, by the way. Comedian Patton Oswalt recently canceled his upcoming tour dates in Florida and Salt Lake City because the venues would not comply with his request that attendees either show proof of full vaccination or a negative COVID test. Breuer was on SNL from 95 to 98, playing recurring characters such as Goat Boy and doing celebrity impersonations that included Joe Pesci, and starred alongside Dave Chappelle in the 1998 film Half-Baked, which was also hilarious. So, I mean, if you want to go see Jim Breuer, I've never seen Jim Breuer. I've never seen a stand-up show live, but I have to imagine it's funny. I mean, I've seen some of his stand-up stuff on TV and such. He's a funny guy. He likes to sing and do heavy metal kind of stuff, too. I remember at the end of the Dennis Leary roast when he came out and did the metal version of the Asshole song. Yeah, I mean, he's an alright comedian, but that's what we need to see is these people push back because he says he's not a slave to money. He kind of is because he wants all of his fans to come out to see his shows, not just half of his fans. But regardless, we'll see what happens with that and where it goes. But I always love the retconning in history, too, when people come out and hear a celebrity that doesn't toe the line that they like. Emily Murnane tweets out, shocked to hear that Jim Breuer is being asked to perform at all. Oh no, I never liked Jim Breuer. It's like fucking Clapton. Clapton makes out an anti-vax song. I always hated Eric Clapton. I always thought that he was a bad dude. I always thought he was a bad person. Hey, don't you remember that thing that the news media told me to be outraged about your kid in the window? Don't you remember that? Like, seriously, dude? No, you guys were just jamming on to fucking Layla not that long ago. That's what you guys did while you were sitting down smoking weed or whatever in your basement unmasked, because you don't care about the rules, you just care about enforcing the rules on other people. Apparently this is a comedy writer too. But it's just the retconning. And as I've always said, I mean, if you boycott everybody that doesn't agree with you, and that's usually more for food and groceries than anything else. If you boycott everybody that doesn't agree with you politically, you'll starve to death. But it's the same thing with comedy. And I understand, and I tried to tweet this out, but I ran out of characters yesterday, that most of the celebrities I enjoy the content of, and I'm not going to name names, Ashley Tisdale, most of them are raging leftoids. Like, absolutely eat the rich even though they're rich. Hopefully they call it out enough of the rich, but I mean, most of them are raging socialist progressives or play one on TV. But I still have to sit back and separate the art from the artist, because a lot of them are very talented, and I enjoy their work. And if I stopped taking any entertainment from people who I didn't agree with politically, I would be sitting around staring at a blank wall all fucking day. Separate the art from the artist, and enjoy the art. All right. From Fox 8 Cleveland, WJW. Hospital to stop delivering babies after nurses quit rather than get vaccines, from Darcy Loreno. A hospital in New York will stop delivering babies this month after too many workers in the maternity unit resigned over COVID-19 vaccine mandates. WWNY reports Lewis County Health System CEO Gerald Kayer says the hospital will stop delivering babies starting on September 24th. If we pause the service and now focus on recruiting nurses who are vaccinated, we'll be able to re-engage in delivering babies here in Lewis County, he said. We are not alone. There are thousands of positions that are open north of the Thruway. Kayer says that 6 workers in the maternity unit resigned rather than get vaccinated. 7 others are undecided. Good. Good. And here's another observation on the society here, and especially the society that goes around these vaccine mandates. A lot of the people who are in favor of the mandates themselves, and I don't know how many of these people, by the way, are actually vaccinated in this maternity ward. I'm sure that there are a lot of them who are still, like I said a few articles ago, who are in favor of their fellow coworkers being able to make the choice. They themselves got vaccinated, but they don't agree with the fact that the hospital can come down and force it on other people. I'm sure some of those are walking out the door and quitting too, because this is bullshit. But a lot of the pro-mandate, pro do whatever you can to get everybody vaccinated people are working in the big cities. This sounds like this is a small town hospital with a small maternity ward, much like the one that I was born in. Redacted. Where I was born, doesn't have a maternity ward anymore because, I mean, the hospital's too small. And like when my sister lives not too far from where I grew up. When my sister's kids were born, she had to go out to Redacted because there was no hospital in Redacted, which would be closest to where she lives. But it's funny to me that these hospitals think that they can just make these mandates against the will of their people and still think they have the people to work. This is what needs to be done. This is exactly what needs to be done. Show these employers and these government people that you're not going to stand for this bullshit. That you're not going to stand for it. Now, I will actually step back and say I could understand a mandate in a hospital. I don't agree with it, but I can understand where they're coming from. And it was the same thing with the Medicare and Medicaid thing. When Biden made his I'm going to make sure that OSHA and then OSHA make sure you find out of business if you don't make your employees get vaccinated. Man, come on, man. I understand, because that was a provision for the Medicare recipient nursing facilities. I understand the concept behind this because this was a disease that disproportionately affected old people. I don't agree with it, but I understand why. That one's understandable to me. I can understand that. In the healthcare industry, I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I still think you should have the personal choice to assess your own risk for yourself, but I understand it. I understand where they're coming from. And I still don't think it's right. But it's going to be the same thing. You know, you work at a car dealer somewhere with 100 employees across 7 locations. You have to have the vaccine because you have more than 100 employees out there. Walk out. See how long they stay afloat. See how long it is before they call you begging you to come back. The hospital, the small town hospital. Walk out. See how long they stay afloat. The city hospitals are still going to require it, but you know, the small town, these places that are going to have a hard time finding people. Yeah, McDonald's can possibly get away with having the mandate, although they're franchisees, so they're going to be exempt. Because each franchise is going to have less than 100 employees. I don't know who that is, but I'll get rid of that. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, these specialized fields especially, where you're going to have a hard time finding workers, hold them to the fire. And I hate to see that these mothers are going to have to travel further, just in case there is an emergency somewhere, but, you know, it comes to the point. If you give up your freedom, what's the next step? Alright, let's keep going. Students sue Creighton University over COVID-19 vaccination requirement. Dude, don't go. This is from NBC 6 News on your side. From Gina Dvorak. A group of Creighton University students said Friday that they had filed a lawsuit earlier this week against the college for refusing to grant religious or medical exemptions. According to a release from a local PR firm, the lawsuit was filed Wednesday in district court. Students were required to upload their proof of COVID-19 vaccination prior to arrival on campus this fall. Many students and parents are disturbed that a religious institution is not allowing religious exemptions, the student's attorney, Robert Sullivan, said in the release. The student statement notes the issue of COVID-19 vaccinations has been controversial in the Catholic Church. While that has seemed to be the case for some parts of the country, Omaha area church leaders told 6 News earlier this year that in alignment with the Vatican's stance, they were supportive of vaccinating against COVID-19. The statement on the lawsuit, filed on behalf of Lauren Raymakers, Patrice Quadrell, Sarah Sincel, and Jane Doe, also mentions the abhorrent use of fetal tissue or cells in vaccines. However, current COVID-19 vaccinations do not contain either. The vaccines have no fetal tissue in it. People don't have to be worried. They're not receiving fetal tissue, according to Dr. Stephen Duran, a bioethicist at COVID-19 task force member and consultant with the Omaha Archdiocese. Even still, the Vatican has declared it is morally acceptable for Catholics to receive the COVID-19 vaccines. Shocker there. Including those based on research that use cells derived from aborted fetuses. Last month, Pope Francis released a video message encouraging Catholics to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Big shocker there. So, and this is the same thing I was just saying about the hospitals. And I've said this on the show before because we talked about this with Indiana University. When you look at something like this, now this is a private school, so they are entirely dependent on donations from their donors and having asses in seats. But even the state schools, the money, the taxpayer funding that the state schools get, like the University of Wisconsin or the Indiana University or Boston, one of them is a private school, one of them is a public school, and I can't remember which one. I think it's BC is the state school. and BU is a private school. But I might have that backwards. But places like that, University of Texas, Texas Tech, things like that. These places that subsist on some taxpayer subsidy still require having asses in seats in order to make sure that they stay above board. Don't go to these universities if they have this vaccine requirement. I mean, they will go as far as to cut you off from distance learning if you don't have the vaccine. Don't go to these places. Don't give them your money. Don't give money to people who hate you. Take the asses out of the seats. And eventually these people will get the message. Hey, our bottom line has gone away. What do we do? This is the lawsuit here. I will, because it's 5 pages, so we're not going to go through the entire thing. Comes now the plaintiffs and for their cause of action against Creighton state and allege as follow. Plaintiffs are enrolled as students of Creighton University. Creighton is a nonprofit corporation formed and established under the laws of the state of Nebraska with its main office and campus in Omaha, Douglas County, Nebraska. The matter is filed in Douglas County as the facts and circumstances that give rise to this cause of action occurred in Douglas County, Nebraska. On or about July 7th, 2021, defendant officially mandated that 100% of its students were required to be vaccinated against COVID-19 in order to register for and attend classes. Students were allowed to request a medical exemption or a temporary exemption from the vaccine based on the emergency authorization from the FDA. At the time, defendant refused to consider or grant religious exemptions. A copy of defendant's mandate is attached hereto, marked Exhibit A. And I know that some of you guys do like to read these documents here, so let me grab this. Where's my Discord? Which window is that in? It's in this window. So I'm going to drop this over in the Discord for you guys. So you guys, if you guys want to go read it, it will be in general chat. You guys can go check out what the lawsuit says. It's 5 pages. I mean, it's a quick read. So you can go check that out and see what's going on with that. But yeah, that's the thing. Asses in seats is what pays the bills. Especially for a private university, but also for public schools. Take the asses out of the seats, and you're going to start to see these people sweat a little bit. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, this is interesting. I like this one. We were talking a lot about vaccine stuff today. I think they're trying to hide from the fact that the California recall is going on right now. The last day of the recall vote is happening right now as we go. From The Blaze, doctor in leaked video says hospitals' COVID-19 messaging should be more scary for the public. You don't get vaccinated, you know you're going to die. Let's read a little bit of this, and I think I've got the video down at the bottom of this one. A doctor in a leaked video told colleagues that their North Carolina hospital's COVID-19 messaging needs to be more scary for the public and even should go as far as to tell people, if you don't get vaccinated, you know you're going to die. Well, I know I'm going to die no matter what. Because I am sinful and deserve death. But I have a Savior who will forgive my sins, hopefully, and bring me in to sit at the right hand. Hopefully. I'm not going to make any predictions right now. I have faith in Christ. Dr. Mary Ruddick also proposed to colleagues in the Novant Health New Hanover Regional Medical Center internal video that post-COVID patients, those who test negative for the virus after initially testing positive, should be included in the hospital's COVID-19 case count, WECTV reported. The leaked video starts with Carolyn Fisher, Director of Marketing, going over what information the Wilmington Hospital provides in regard to COVID-19 numbers and mentioning the percentage of unvaccinated hospitalizations, the station said. Ruddick, who previously served as NHRMC's Chief Medical Staff, WECT noted, then said the hospital's COVID-19 messaging needs to be a little bit more scary for the public. You know what, I can paraphrase this all the time, but I think this is the video. I haven't watched this video, so I don't know if this is it or not, but I think this is the video that got leaked. So let's go have a listen to that.
On the dashboard on the dashboard and how it's set up itself as far as how we get information out to the community on meaningful numbers. We do post that on a weekly basis. So that's on our website, and we've been sharing that through social channels as well, particularly those graphics that show the number of patients in-house, the percentage of them that are unvaccinated, the percentage of unvaccinated people in the ICU, and the percentage of deaths and the numbers. So those are numbers that we put out. As far as we don't get into details of floor or those other numbers are certainly out there.
Right. I guess my feeling at this point in time is maybe we need to be completely a little bit more scary for the public. Then there's another comment is I completely agree. There are many people still hospitalized that we're considering post-COVID, but we're not counting in those numbers. So how do we include those post-COVID people in the numbers of the patients we have in the hospital?
So is that all the people who have been in the hospital since the beginning of COVID?
Well, or that are still in it, and that's something that I can take to someone else. But I think those are important numbers, the patients that are still in the hospital, that are off the COVID floor, but still are occupying the hospital for a variety of reasons.
Okay.
Carolyn, we call those, I'm sorry, we're calling those recovered now. If you look at the Novant Health dashboard, they're listed as recovered. But I do think from our standpoint, we would still consider them a COVID patient because they're still healing.
Yeah. So I think that needs to be highlighted as well. Yeah. Because once they're off isolation, they drop from the COVID numbers. That's exactly right.
Carolyn, we can talk offline and how we run that up to marketing. And
right. So I'm just going to say, Carolyn, I think we have to be more blunt. We have to be more forceful. We have to say something coming out. You don't get vaccinated, you're going to die. I mean, let's just be really blunt to these people.
So there it is. And I mean, this is something that I've been saying since the beginning of this. When I said last year, because every media outlet breathlessly proclaimed 100,000 deaths, 200,000 deaths, 300,000 deaths, oh my God, 400,000 deaths, 500,000 deaths. At Election Day, oh my God, what has he done? How could President Trump kill all these people? And he didn't let them die. He went in and actively killed all these people who had COVID-19. Oh, the agony. Oh, the horror. What did I say? I always said, citation please. Every time they breathlessly reported that number. That was the first thing that I said. Citation, please. Because I don't believe them. Because I do believe that this was a money grab. To try, and hospitals it was reported, they were getting paid extra if they had to intubate a person, and then also paid extra if they had a COVID death in their hospital. They got an extra sum of money. So of course they're going to do whatever they can to inflate those numbers. I would not be surprised, and I've said also, and I'm going to say the same thing for the Biden numbers. Because they're trying to pump those up to 700,000 now. Mostly it's a thing to try to make the Orange Man even worse off of this, but I would not be surprised if I went out and, had a team of people go through all 700,000 deaths. Now, I don't have the money to pay a team of people like that, but to go through the documents on all 700,000 deaths of COVID and figure out what the actual cause of death was, what they were in for, because I don't think a lot of them were in for COVID. And if they all exist, because I would be willing to bet, this is the thing for me, that's been very hard for me to wrap my head around. Now, I do know people who died of COVID, or COVID adjacent, whichever you want to choose. I do know people who know people like that. But I don't directly know anybody who died of the pinko pox. I do not know anybody who even got sick from it. My dad claims that he did before they knew what it was, and that's believable because I think I might have too. But for the most part, I don't know very many people at all who got sick from this. I know a few. I gotta walk that one back for myself because otherwise we'll fact check it away. Yeah, I do know a few people who have tested positive for this thing. But the motorcycle crashes, where the guy wasn't wearing a helmet, and he slammed into the back of a semi, or the guy who fell off the ladder, who also died of COVID. I want to go out and see the documents on all these people, because I wouldn't be surprised to find out the number is as low as 30,000. I don't know if it's that low. I would probably be more comfortable saying around 100,000. But I wouldn't be surprised to find out the number was as low as 30,000. But then we've got these hospitals who are coming out and admitting on tape that yes, they're trying to pump up the scariness of this to try and get more people vaccinated, to try and get more people in and comply. It's about compliance above everything else. The hospital has issued a statement on this video. From WECT, News 6 NBC, Novant Health issues statement on leaked internal discussion of COVID-19 patient numbers. From WECT staff, Novant Health Systems of New Hanover issued a statement after a video of an internal discussion on how the hospital reports its COVID-19 patient count was leaked on social media. The just over 2-minute video sparked a heated discussion online, with many pointing to the conversation as proof hospitals were falsifying or artificially inflating case counts, one of many conspiracy theories circulating as health officials report record case counts in many parts of the country. The video begins with the hospital's director of marketing, Carolyn Fisher. Why does a hospital have a director of marketing, by the way? Anyway. Carolyn Fisher explaining what information the hospital provides in terms of COVID-19 numbers, with specific mention of the percentage of unvaccinated persons. Dr. Mary Ruddick, who previously served as chief medical staff for NHRMC, responds bluntly, saying she feels the hospital's messaging needs to be a little bit more scary for the public. She then proposes including patients she characterizes as post-COVID in the hospital's case count, the primary source for the outrage on social media. After sorting through an apparent misunderstanding, no, that was not an apparent misunderstanding. They knew what they were saying. They knew what they were saying. Ruddick further explains the point. I think those are important numbers. The patients are still in the hospital that are off of the COVID floor, but still occupying the hospital for a variety of reasons. Shelbourne Stevens, who earlier this year was named president of the NHRMC in the coastal market, clarified Ruddick's request, explaining the patients who were initially hospitalized with COVID-19 but are no longer positive for the virus are considered recovered and they are therefore removed from the hospital's COVID-19 patient count. But I do think from our standpoint we would still consider them a COVID patient because they're still healing, Stevens said. The partial video ends with another blunt statement from Ruddick. I think we have to be more blunt. We have to be more forceful. We have to say something coming out. You know, you don't get vaccinated, you know you're going to die. I mean, let's just be really blunt to these people. Yeah, they're in CYA mode because really, honestly, this kind of shows me, and I don't know what you guys got out of the video, but this kind of shows me that, yeah, these case totals are a little bit inflated. At least a little bit. And it's always go back and follow the money. Follow the money, and you will see, you'll find the answers you're looking for. All right, let's keep going here. We're still doing vaccine stuff. Jesus. Yeah, we've got 2 more on vaccine stuff. From ABC News, Fauci says he would support mandating COVID-19 vaccine for air travel. From Mina Kaji. The nation's top infectious disease expert and also the patron saint of medicine, Saint Anthony of Fauci, hallowed be his name, said he would support mandating COVID-19 vaccine for air travel. I would support that, Dr. Fauci told the Skim podcast on Friday. If you want to get on a plane and travel with other people, you should be vaccinated. He did not specify in the podcast interview whether the vaccine mandate he supports would be just for travelers over the age of 12 or all travelers. The U.S. Travel Association responded that while they support people getting vaccinated, they have long maintained that there should be no mandatory vaccination requirement for domestic travel. Such a policy would have an unfair negative impact on families with young children who are not yet eligible to get the vaccine, the statement continued. They believe the mask mandate, which has been extended through January 2022, is enough to keep passengers safe, pointing to a study conducted by the Department of Defense in partnership with United Airlines. The study found that the risk of COVID-19 exposure on board an aircraft is virtually non-existent. When masks are worn, there's only a 0.003% chance particles from a passenger can enter the breathing space of a passenger sitting beside them. Proper tools are already in place to enable safe air travel for Americans, the association emphasized. White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator Jeff Zients was also asked about the possibility of vaccine mandates for domestic flights on Monday. We're pulling the available levers to require vaccinations and we're not taking any measures off the table, he said. Well, I've only flown twice in my life and I don't anticipate adding a third. Well, 4 times because there and back on both shots. I don't anticipate a 5th flight for me at this point. I really don't. Because if they're going to be like this, I have no time for them. All right, from the Associated Press. Union split on vaccine mandates, complicating Biden push. From Nicholas Riccardi. The National Nurses Union applauded President Biden's proposal to require that companies with more than 100 employees vaccinate their workforce. The American Federation of Teachers once said vaccine mandates weren't necessary, but now embraces them. Politically, of course. In Oregon, police and firefighters unions are suing to block a mask mandate for state workers. The labor movement is torn over vaccine requirements, much like the country as a whole, wanting to both support its political ally in Biden and protect its members against infection, but also not wanting to trample their workers' rights. Labor unions are a microcosm of the society we live in, said Patricia Campos Medina, executive director of Cornell University's The Worker Institute. The same political divide that we have right now exists within the rank and file of unions. Yeah, because they're people. They're a society. The divide complicates matters for Biden as he tries to get the Delta variant under control. Unions are a key part of the Democrat Party, and Biden has embraced them to burnish his blue-collar middle-class image. Dissent in Biden's own coalition may make it especially hard for him to implement the new vaccine requirements. Some unions representing the federal workers have already objected to this push for inoculation among the U.S. government workforce, saying such matters involving new workplace requirements and discipline need to be negotiated at the bargaining table. In a sign of importance of the issue to the Biden admin, the White House reached out to union presidents before Biden announced his new policy Thursday and will continue to check in with labor leaders, said an admin official who insisted on anonymity to discuss forthcoming plans. Biden will require companies with more than 100 workers to give their employees shots or test them weekly. He also mandates shots for executive branch workers and federal contractors with no testing opt-out. The new requirement could cover up to 100 million Americans. Momentum seems to be on the side of the mandates. The AFL-CIO, the umbrella organization over much of the country's unions, backed Biden's plans in a statement released on Friday because they got paid off to do so. The resurgence of COVID-19 requires swift and immediate action, and we commend President Biden for taking additional steps to help put an end to this crisis, which is probably already over at this point. That's why you see the cases declining. Everyone should be vaccinated as one step in stopping the pandemic, the organization's president, Liz Schuler, said in the statement. The AFT 2 weeks ago mandated that its employees in its offices be vaccinated, and have become a strong advocate for workplaces requiring vaccinations. Safety and health have been our North Star since the beginning of this pandemic, says Randy Weingarten, the union's president. The union's support for mandates, she added, creates great cheer among 2/3 of our people and will create agita in 1/3 of the people. Still, many labor unions are hesitant to wade in the mandate issue. Many of the employers of the workers of the Labor's District Council of Western Pennsylvania, like hospitals, have begun requiring vaccinations. Whenever members complain, the council's business manager, Philip Amiras, tells them it's not the union's call. Those are dangerous words. When the union is involved, those are dangerous words because you might be in a wheelchair for a little while with some kneecap issues. They know how to get their members into line. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to come back out and see where the split is off of this because, and I said this yesterday, the unions are supposed to be doing what's in the best interest of the workers to keep their workers from getting fired or getting a pay raise, or they need to give their workers a pay raise, like a 25-cent pay raise every 18 months or something while the union boss comes in his brand new Corvette. They're money-making systems, but, you know, if they start losing their members because their members start getting fired because they won't take the vax, then they're not going to start funneling in all that big money either. It's a marketing thing for them, too. All right. But that's what I see coming up out of this. That's all the vaccine stuff right there. What do we have? Probably an hour on vaccine stuff. Now we're going to get to some other stuff here. But before we move off of that, I want to reiterate a point that I made earlier on in this. If it comes down to feeding your family, if it comes down to keeping your kids safe, if it comes down to a personal choice, your personal risk assessment, if you want to take the vaccine, I'm not going to dog on you for it. Like I said, I might throw a little sly jab of, hey, how's your cell reception now that you got that? How's your 5G? But for the most part, it's your choice if that's what you want to do. I was a big advocate for right to try. I thought it should have been extended beyond people who are on death's doorstep, getting an experimental procedure if they think it'll save their lives. And everybody should have the opportunity. If they think that the drug will save them, whether it's the vaccine or otherwise, then they should have the opportunity to use it. Speak with your doctor, of course, to see what the possible side effects are, but you should have the opportunity to take a drug if you think it's going to help you save your life. It is your body and your choice. So I've always said, if you want to get the vaccine and you have no way to get there, call me up. I will take you to the vaccine clinic to go get your vaccine, just as long as you don't force me to come in there with you. I'm a big advocate for bodily autonomy in both directions. If you want this thing, go and get it. But if you don't, there should be no mandate that says that you have to have it either. Plain and simple. All right, let's talk about Amy Coney Barrett from ABC News. Barrett concerned about the public perception of the Supreme Court, from Piper Hudspeth Blackburn of the Associated Press. Yes, I will, Random Randy. Yes, I will. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett expressed concern Sunday that the public may increasingly see the court as a partisan institution. No way! They've been doing that for a while, Amy. Justices must be hyper-vigilant to make sure they're not letting personal biases creep into their decisions, since the judges are people too, Barrett said at a lecture hosted by the University of Louisville's McConnell Center. Why is there a center in the University of Kentucky that's named after that turtle man? Why is that a thing? And also, when asked for comment about the notes that Amy Coney Barrett had regarding what the speech was and what she felt about the Supreme Court, she just simply did this. I do like Amy Coney Barrett, but I think she's off on a few things as well. Introduced by Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, who founded the center and played a key role in pushing through her confirmation in the last days of the Trump administration, Barrett spoke at length about her desire for others to see the Supreme Court as nonpartisan. Barrett said the media's reporting of opinions doesn't capture that deliberative process in reaching those decisions, and she insisted that judicial philosophies are not the same as political parties. Oh, but they are. To say the court's reasoning is flawed is different from saying the court is acting in a partisan manner, said Barrett, whose confirmation to the seat left open by the death of liberal Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg cemented conservative control of the court. I think we need to evaluate what the court is doing in its own terms. Barrett's comments followed a high-profile decision earlier this month in which the court, by a 5-4 vote, declined to step in to stop a Texas law banning most abortions from going into effect, prompting outrage from both abortion rights groups and President Biden. Barrett was asked about that decision by students who submitted questions in advance, and also asked about another recent decision by the court which it refused to block, a lower court ruling ordering the Biden admin to reinstate a Trump-era program, informally known as Remain in Mexico. Barrett said it would be inappropriate to comment on specific cases. Several supporters of abortion rights had demonstrated outside the Seelbach Hotel where the private event was held. Barrett, 49, also spoke about her introduction to the court in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, saying it certainly is a different experience. The court has more than a year been hearing arguments by telephone, though it recently announced a return to the courtroom in October. Barrett described the court as a warm, collegial place. She said that after she was confirmed, a colleague brought Halloween candy for her children. The first mother of school-age children on the 9-member court also spoke about balancing her job and family life. So, and that's a concern that I've had for a long time too, because, I mean, what's the first thing that you hear in any presidential election? Actually, it's about the third thing. Is this the person that you want nominating the next Supreme Court justice? Is this the person you want nominating the next justice? And especially now, over the last couple of elections, because we've had openings pop up in the 11th hour on what was it, the last two for sure. Is this the person that you want nominating Supreme Court justices? I mean, that was pretty much the entirety of the 2016 election, is whether or not they wanted Scalia's replacement to be appointed by Hillary or Donald. And they tried to do it on the midterms when Anthony Kennedy stepped down. I still think that was planned for a reason, because they were trying to wrest control of the Senate and get it back into Democrat hands. Because Kennedy himself was, I think he was a pretty liberal guy. He was a swing guy, but he was a pretty Democrat-favoring guy, let's say that. And then the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg going into the 2020 election, with the hopes that once again they would be able to hold this issue into the presidency so that she would be replaced by somebody who wasn't Donald Trump. But the simple majority in the Senate, made that an impossibility. But that's what we see coming off of that. But the court really should be nonpartisan. It should be an interpretation of laws and suits that come to the federal government, if they actually get that far, against what it says in the Constitution. And sadly, it's not been that anymore. I mean, really, honestly, unless we're aggrieved by a separate state, like I live in Wisconsin, if I was aggrieved on something by the state of Illinois, which there's a lot in Illinois to be aggrieved about, but if I was aggrieved by something in Illinois, that would be where I would take it to the Supreme Court, but I would probably take it to a lower federal court first. The Supreme Court shouldn't be there to be taking up lawsuits, appeal the entire direction up to the Supreme Court. It should be a court that determines what laws are constitutional coming out of the Congress, and what happens in interstate disputes, land disputes, and etc. between the states. It wasn't supposed to be a court like where Roe versus Wade gets taken to. That should have stopped in a federal court. If it even got to a federal court, that should have been in a state court. So yes, there are a lot of things that the Supreme Court should be that it's not. And there are a lot of things that it shouldn't be that it is. And it is getting to a partisan nature. Especially once we get up to the court stacking thing. Oh, we gotta put all these new liberal justices in there because we gotta undo the Trumpism of the court. Oh my God! And that's not what they should be deciding on. They should be deciding on the constitutionality of the decisions they make, and the decisions Congress and the President make. Not deciding on your petty squabbles. Alright, let's see, what else do we have here? Pelosi is confident Democrats will maintain the House in midterms without Trump on the ballot. I don't know about that, Nancy. I don't. let's hear what Nancy has to say, and then I'll weigh in on this as well. This is from Jason Lemon. Speaker Nancy Pelosi dismissed predictions that Republicans will retake control of the House of Representatives in the 2022 midterms, expressing confidence that Democrat members will maintain their seats without former President Trump on the ballot. Many top Republicans feel confident they will retake control of the House and possibly the Senate as well in the midterms next year. Recent historical precedent has shown that the party of the president in power often loses a substantial number of House seats in the midterms during his first term, since Democrats hold just 220 seats to the 212 currently held by Republicans. Even a few losses could shift control of the legislative chamber. I know we will win the Congress. Honk honk. People say, well, in the off year, it's not a good year, but I think any assumptions about politics are obsolete, Pelosi told reporters on Wednesday in Hartford, Connecticut, at an event to celebrate Biden's expanded child tax credit. She dismissed projections that suggest her party will lose power in the legislative chamber. We live in a whole new world of communications and the rest. And I think that our members who survived Trump being on the ballot with them will survive next year because Trump's not on the ballot, the California Democrats said. Emma Vaughn, a spokeswoman for the Republican National Committee, dismissed Pelosi's assessment of the Democrats' chances of holding the House next year. Pelosi's claim is laughable and out of touch, as Democrats' electoral prospects are doomed as a result of their attempt to ram through a $3.5 trillion socialist wish list and defend Biden's list of failures and crises, from a deadly withdrawal in Afghanistan to a raging crisis at our southern border, Vaughn told Newsweek. I love the way they worded this, by the way. I mean, this isn't an op-ed or anything. During the 2018 midterms, halfway through Trump's first and only term as president, honk honk, Democrats took back control of the House and gained 40 seats. The same thing happened to Barack Obama, with Republicans taking back control of the House in 2010. During his first term, in those midterms, the GOP picked up 63 seats. In June, the University of Virginia's Center for Politics released an analysis of the midterm elections going back to 1946. The report... I just lost my place. The report showed that a president in power, on average, loses more than 26 seats. During the midterms, the largest loss has been 64 seats, while the largest gain has been just 8 seats. The analysis showed similar results in the Senate. On average, since 1946, the president's party has lost more than 3 seats in the Senate during the midterms. The biggest loss has been 13 seats, while the largest gain has been 4 seats. So, here's the problem with that. Now, first and foremost, you do need to keep in mind that they're not planning this because there's no possible way that there could ever be anything bad, because the 2020 election was completely above board, nothing bad happened. So the 2022 election must also be completely above board and nothing bad happened, unless, of course, this goes the way that Pelosi is saying, the way that Pelosi is saying, because otherwise it'll be dirty Russian cheaters and dirty Russian cheating. Now, I do want to point out that Nancy does have some statistics on her side in the statement that she's making. People don't show up, or typically don't show up, in droves as much as in off years as they do in on years. Because the presidency has been so hyped throughout our country, that's what people go to vote for, is the president, and they just happen to say, oh, look at all these down ballot races. And she's making the assumption that people won't go out to vote because Donald is not on the ballot. The MAGA people won't go out to vote, but let's be realistic here. The parties in charge, under very, very thin majorities in all chambers and the presidency, the parties in charge are screwing the American people left and right. You might have progressives going out to try and oust some of these Democrats at this point. Some of these corporate Democrats who have screwed them over in their particular districts. They won't necessarily go and vote for the Republican, but they might go and write in Mickey Mouse to keep the corporate Democrat out of the office. Nancy Pelosi's party is in trouble because of the schism that they have in that party. It is in trouble. Not only that, they continue to screw over the American people left and right, and I would be surprised if there are any Democrats left, other than those from Los Angeles, Oakland, Sacramento, New York City, and Chicago. At the end, when all the dust settles off of this, I would be very surprised to see that. But yeah, you don't have the statistics on your side unless you honk honk the election, where nothing bad is going to happen, honk honk. Most popular midterm in history, honk honk. More votes than anybody else in history. As far as the Senate goes, a lot of this is going to depend on what happens and where this goes on the infrastructure bill. Because if the infrastructure bill passes and the human infrastructure bill passes, the reconciliation passes, you're going to have a lot of pissed off people once they start realizing just how little their dollar does anymore. And Republicans in the Senate right now have a very hard map to defend. There are more Republicans up in 2022 than Democrats. So under normal circumstances, that would be a recipe for glee for Senate Democrats, who don't have to defend as many seats. But, yo, you keep screwing over the people the way you do, and you're going to lose that majority too. But we'll see what happens. I'm interested for it. I'm here for it. I'm ready to see. Because campaign season starts in just a couple months. Alright, what else do we have here? This one. So, I'm going to read this, and once I'm done with this article, I want you to put a 0 in this in the chat if you believe this, and a 1 if you don't believe this. And I got a feeling I'm going to see 6 ones, because it looks like there are only 6 people watching. From CNN. Capitol Police arrest man with bayonet and machete in truck near DNC headquarters. From Lauren Fox, Ted Barrett, Manu Raju, and Ali Zaslav. And this is a Dodge Dakota with deer antlers into the grill. Let's see what they have to say. U.S. Capitol Police say they arrested a California man who had multiple knives in his truck, which had a swastika and other white supremacist symbols painted on it, near the DNC early Monday morning. Officers on patrol noticed the Dodge Dakota. Around midnight on Sunday, police say the truck didn't have a license plate. Oh, you're telling me it didn't have a license plate? But instead a picture of an American flag. That's interesting. You got all the way across the country without a license plate on it, with deer antlers in the... Oh, this is interesting. And you say it's got a swastika on it? And pictures and an American flag for a license plate? Oh, I am interested. Do tell me more. The officers pulled over the truck and noticed a bayonet and a machete, which are illegal in the District of Columbia. The driver, identified as 44-year-old Donald Craighead of Oceanside, California, was arrested. The arrest comes while law enforcement officials are already bracing for potential clashes and unrest during an upcoming right-wing rally on Saturday. Upcoming right-wing rally. Yes, let's all gather in the place where all the National Guard people are. That couldn't go bad at all. Let's go gather in Washington, D.C., where the military is, where everything is controlled. Oh, yeah. Yes, perfectly. According to internal Capitol Police memo reviewed by CNN last week. The arrest came hours before Capitol Police Chief Tom Manger told reporters that the U.S. Capitol Police Board has approved the department's request to reinstall temporary fencing. We get to put the fence back up around the Capitol. Ahead of the planned rally this weekend, fencing was erected around the Capitol following the deadly January 6th riot, though it was eventually pared back and removed over the summer. Congressional leaders, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer, attended a security briefing in Pelosi's office Monday morning with Manger to discuss security preparations for the rally. The top of the Democratic-Republican lawmakers in the House Administration Committee are also expected to receive separate security briefings in the coming days, another source said. Pelosi said on Monday that the security plan ahead of the planned rally in the Capitol was September 18th seems much better, echoing Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer's remarks about the security briefing, but Pelosi noted that she doesn't have anything to compare it to because we weren't briefed before, referring to the January 6th selfie fest. So it's not like I can compare it to before, but I'm sure we'll have an ongoing communication, she added after leaving the briefing. So there you go, and let's look at the truck one more time. Oh, look! Look at those big deer antlers on. Look at those antlers on the grill. I'm so convinced this is some good old boy from California. I'm so convinced that this actually happened. Oh, it just happens that he got all the way across the country without a license plate on his truck. Oh, goodness. But he's got these big identifying markers so anybody could pick it back out. 0 in the chat if you believe this. 1 in the chat if you don't. Let's see what you guys think. Because I think it's a bunch of shit. But while you guys are doing that and catching up with that, I want to remind anybody who watches this in posterity, and if you guys want to clip this off Twitch and distribute this out as well, put it on a Clips channel or whatnot, do so as well. That's your lead in to what I'm about to say here. If you want to clip it, clip it. Do not go to the Capitol on September 18th. This is a trap. If you go to the Capitol on September 18th, there will be a honk-honk breach of the Capitol. You will get caught up in the crowd, or the moment, and you will be arrested. Probably promptly. If not, they will ping your phone, and they will come and get you at your house. And that is if they don't start shooting outright, which I would not put anything past the federal government at this point. They do shit like that. Do not go to the the Justice for January 6th rally on September 18th. Do not go. Stay far, far away from DC. I might go to Minnesota just so I can be a little bit further away from DC. Because I think Wisconsin is too close to DC at this point. Do not go. Do not go. Stay away from DC. Stay far, far, far away. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, a little bit of a video session here. Watch White House cuts Biden's feed when he asks a question from Charlotte Pence Bond. The White House reportedly cut the feed of President Biden during a briefing on Monday as the president started asking questions. As reported by Fox News, during Monday's visit to Boise, Idaho, Biden received a briefing about the ongoing wildfires that have plagued several states out west. While Biden spoke for much of the briefing, at one point he said he wanted to hear more from George Geisler of the National Association of State Foresters. Hey, can I ask you a question? Of course, Geisler replied. One of the other things that I've been working on with some others is, Biden said before the feed was cut and replaced with a full screen graphic that said, "Thank you for joining." But don't take my word for it. Let's watch it.
Can I ask you a question? Oops. One of the things that I've been working on with some others is
Yeah, that's not suspicious at all. As Fox News pointed out, this isn't the first situation where the White House has cut Biden's feed, the outlet noted. Last month, the president's audio feed was cut as he was about to respond to a reporter's question on the admin's military withdrawal deadline from Afghanistan. The White House also cut the feed of a virtual event in March after Biden said, I'm happy to take questions if that's what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, this guy's not in charge. But we all know that. He's not the one in charge. They just got to wheel him back out every once in a while and let him say pretty stuff. Pretty promises. Alright, that's what we see coming off of that. From the USA Today. Hong Kong, Hong Kong, Hong Kong. Twitter did not violate election laws when it throttled Hunter Biden article. FEC rules. From Jessica Gein. Twitter did not violate the election laws when it limited the spread of a New York Post article about then Democrat presidential nominee Joe Biden's son Hunter shortly before the election. The FEC has determined. In a ruling expected shortly, the FEC rebuffed the GOP accusations that Twitter suppressed the article to tip the election to Biden, fighting instead that Twitter did so for business reasons, according to a published report in the New York Times, a former newspaper. The decision by Facebook and Twitter to throttle the spread of the article about Hunter Biden's business dealings last October fueled the ire of former President Trump and top conservatives. The RNC claimed that Twitter was in cahoots with the Biden presidential campaign and that the company's actions were illegal in-kind contribution, which they probably were. The FEC said Twitter credibly explained why it blocked the New York Post article, the New York Times, a former newspaper, reported. The RNC spokeswoman Emma Vaughn told the newspaper that the committee was weighing its options to appeal this disappointing decision. The FEC declined to comment. Once an enforcement matter is resolved, the FEC has up to 30 days to post the related documents to the website. The documents! Show me the documents! Twitter also declined to comment. That was probably for their best interest. Twitter quickly reversed the decision on the Hunter Biden article. CEO Jack Dorsey said the company made a mistake in blocking its distribution and subsequently changed its policy on hacked materials. The FEC also rejected claims that Twitter violated election laws by shadow banning or limiting the visibility of posts from conservatives in labeling Trump's tweets. So, Twitter did nothing wrong on the Hunter Biden story. Shocker of shockers, according to the FEC. Hong Kong. Hong Kong. Now, it looks like there's going to be an appeal to this. RNC mulls appeal FEC ruling for Twitter and Hunter Biden laptop censorship, but this is going to go the same way. This is going to go absolutely the same way. This is from Julie Grace Brufke and Stephen Nelson and Bruce Golding. The RNC was weighing its options on Monday after the report said the FEC Commission has tossed its complaint that Twitter illegally suppressed the Post's expose about Hunter Biden's emails. As Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey said recently, it was a total mistake for Twitter to suppress this important story, RNC spokeswoman Emma Vaughn said. Worse, it was also illegal, and our complaint persuasively explains why. Vaughn added the RNC is weighing its options for appealing the disappointing decision from the FEC. U.S. Rep. Mary Miller tweeted, "Big tech and the mainstream media blocked the Hunter Biden story to affect the outcome of the election in violation of election law. They're now lying about it and facing zero consequences." And there were a number of people who came out and said that they would not have voted for Biden if they'd have known about this story. So I do see this as an in-kind contribution. Plus the fact that Twitter went back and reinstated the article after the election because, oh, well, no, we made a mistake and it was wrong of us to do this. And we're sorry, the article's back up. And that was a problem, Tim, and we're looking into this. And see, if they hadn't done that, if they hadn't come out and said, oh, we made a mistake and that's a problem, and now we're reinstating this, I would say that they might have a case to say that this was possibly against their terms of service for one reason or another. And I know it wasn't, but I would say the case of they believed that it was against their terms of service and stuck by it. But because they went back right out as soon as the election was over and reinstated the story, then they suddenly now sit back and face whether or not this was an in-kind contribution, because all the evidence points to the fact that it was. But, I mean, government's going to government and establishment's going to establishment. All right. Two more, and then we will do a Twitter trending and head out of here for the day. Anti-CRT theory org taking aim at... I'm sorry, anti-CRT, because we don't say theory twice. Anti-CRT organization taking aim at Loudoun County School Board in $500,000 ad buy. The temperature, this is Loudoun County, as there's no author given off of this. The temperature in Loudoun County is about to get hotter as anti-CRT organization launches $500,000 worth of ads criticizing the school board, Fox News has learned. The ads, purchased by the Free to Learn Coalition, are set to air during the Washington football team's Sunday game. Yes, they haven't changed their name yet. It's still the Washington football team. As well as on local broadcast networks for the next 2 weeks. I bet you it gets blocked. I bet you it gets blocked. For over a year, Loudoun has seen an increasingly tense political atmosphere explode over so-called equity training that some residents see as a form of CRT indoctrination. School board member Beth Bartz is set to appear in court Monday in response to a recall petition that was months in the making. Fight for Schools PAC, which is led by former Trump admin official and Loudoun resident Ian Pryor, continues to work to gather enough signatures to recall several other members of the board. Sunday's ad runs through a litany of criticisms that have been lobbed at the school board in its very high-profile battle against over CRT. I think this is the ad, so let's watch the ad.
Loudoun County, Virginia spent nearly $500,000 to develop a divisive curriculum promoted by political activists. When parents spoke up, officials threatened to silence them. Then, a teacher was put on leave for his religious beliefs. Others encouraged to turn in colleagues. And now, powerful education unions are using dirty political campaign tactics to go after parents. Suppression, political activism, censorship. Let's get politics out of the classroom. Join us.
And I mean, it's a good message. It's definitely a good message, but I don't know if the NFL is going to allow this to be broadcast on their games. That's one thing to pay attention to with this is the NFL going to allow this? Now, I cut the cord. I know a lot of people around me did, so I don't see, even if I do watch football, which I haven't in over a year, but I would debate watching this to see if this ad actually airs or not. And maybe that's exactly what the NFL wants, is to get more people going back and watching because, oh, then we get to see the CRT ad. Regardless. But I know that a lot of times on the Verizon apps, you don't get all the commercials either. You don't get every commercial that comes forward. A lot of times they just put up a "we'll be right back" screen in the middle of the commercials. You still get the pause, but you just get a screen. So I don't know if they'll allow this, if this is going to happen or not, if they'll put this up. I mean, money is money. So, and they paid $500,000 for this. I kind of think that $500,000 should have gone into some of their local campaigning, not going on to a nationally televised event. But that's how I would market it if I had the $500,000 to spend. All right, last one, then we'll do Twitter trending and head out of here for the day. Comes from WGN News 9. Mayor Lightfoot to unveil plan to sue gang members for damages. Yeah? How do you think that's going to work out? From the Associated Press's Judy Wang. Chicago is poised to embark on a new strategy to attack the gangs that are responsible for much of the gun violence in the city, sue them to take their belongings. Mayor Deadfoot said she'll introduce on Monday an ordinance that would allow the city to file lawsuits to go after gang members' assets, the Chicago Sun-Times reported. Persecutors in suburban counties have for years been doing something similar by employing the Illinois Street Gang Prevention Act to sue gang members for monetary damages. But attorney John Mock, who successfully defended 4 men against such a lawsuit in Kane County, says most of the hundreds of such lawsuits over the years have failed to collect any monetary damages from gang members. But as the number of shootings and homicides in Chicago continues to surge, Lightfoot says the city must do everything it can to battle the gangs that have killed and have wounded so many. Here's a suggestion. and I'm just spitballing here. If you know who these gang members are enough that you can go file a lawsuit against them, throw their asses in jail. Go pick them up off the streets and throw their asses in jail. These people are hurting people and taking their stuff. I consider that an acceptable use of government force. And I don't consider very many acceptable uses of government force. But if they are hurting people and taking their stuff, then I consider that acceptable. Go get their stupid asses off the street. Rather than making another big platitude to come out and say, oh no, we're going to sue them now. Go pick them up. Go enforce the law that you swore to uphold. But you can't do that because then you'd be putting black people in jail. And that's going to be devastating to your re-election campaign and your ability to hold on to power. If you kill somebody, you go to jail. That's the way it should be. And pretty much if you don't kill somebody, you don't go to jail. That's also the way it should be. And once again, like I said, if you know who these people are, pick them up. You got to know who these people are in order to go after them monetarily. So what's the issue here? What's the issue, the difference, whether you send a lawyer or you send a CPD officer down there? Except the CPD officer has a chance of being on the take. But what's the difference? Everything is stupid, you guys. Everything is way stupid. But this is the world we live in. All right, let's do Twitter trending and head out of here for the day. What do you think? You guys ready? You guys ready to go on with your day? Let's see what's trending on Twitter today. Throw a refresh in here, get the top one. Why are my messages up? Those aren't supposed to be up. I shut those down before here. All right, number one trend is hashtag iPhone. Like this tweet and see what happens. Hashtag Apple event, hashtag Apple, hashtag iPhone 13, hashtag iPhone. It's finally Apple event day. It's absolutely digging the Twitter like animation this round. Give it a try. Retweet and get this wallpaper in your direct message. Make sure your DM is not private. I don't want this wallpaper. Displayed while iPhone 13 is running, the notch appears to have shrunk significantly. Apple event, iPhone 13. Yep, iPhone 13, iPhone 13 mini, iPhone 13 Pro, Pro Max, Watch Series 7, and AirPods. So this is all the crap that Apple's putting out here that they're making in Chinese sweatshops with child labor, with suicide nets around it. And also castrated Uyghur Muslims. Yeah, how your phone looks whenever a new iPhone comes out. That's not how my phone looks, because I don't buy Crapple products. I do own a Crapple product, I will admit that. But I use it as a music player, and it's not connected to any internet. It just keeps all the music and the real estate lessons and all the other stuff off of my handset, and it keeps them from taking up space. It's a nice little storage device. Although the battery's shot, I think I might need to upgrade it again. But it is a nice little device. For what its purpose is. Alright, number 2, Aurora James. So this goes on to what we talked about with the Met Gala last night. AOC turned heads last night at the Met Gala when she wore a dress. With the message tax the rich emblazoned on the back, designer Aurora James tells us why this dress at this exclusive event was so important to them. Because she made a butt ton of fucking money off of it. That's why. And she's probably going to get around the taxes too. Let's listen to just a little bit of this. We're not going to do the full 2 minutes.
So there's a lot of rich people at this event. It's incredibly expensive to attend. It is incredibly exclusive. And there are folks, especially on the right, who are criticizing the Congresswoman, saying she's making this message, but this is some hoity-toity event that costs upwards of 30 grand a ticket. What has your reaction been to the backlash?
Well, listen, I think ultimately a lot of these conversations that we have about economic justice usually happen in spaces with working class people. And I think the Congresswoman is not going to ever sacrifice her morals for comfort. And she wanted to make sure that this message was brought into that room and into a group of people who ultimately have to be willing to, be more liberal with their economic values as well. And I think that's what we've done. And to be honest with you, she wouldn't have attended and just worn, a pretty gown without delivering any kind of message to people. And, fashion is often thought of as this really frivolous thing. But ultimately, in my brand and for a lot of other designers, we use it as a really powerful tool for communication, especially women of color. I've been a sustainable designer since I started in 2013. All
right, I can't listen to you anymore. That hurt my brain. Yeah, what is the point? And I know what the point is for this woman. Oh, we're going to go out and make a statement. Every progressive is going to be out looking for something Aurora James to buy today. I promise you. The search history, if you pick up any progressive's phone and look in the search history, their shopping history, their app history, they've all gone out into their favorite shopping app and looked for an Aurora James dress today. If not last night already, I promise you. This woman got filthy fucking rich off of this and doesn't see the irony in the dress that she had. All right. We will skip Tuesday motivations. The number 3 trend, or the number 4 trend. Creative ways to solve a problem. Creative ways to solve a problem. I wouldn't attempt this, although I'm sure someone in the world has. Clearly they have, because, we're seeing it. And it holds air. I don't know how, but it holds air. Ignore it, it'll go away. Creative ways to solve a problem. Rock, paper, scissors, that's not creative. Yesterday I saw a book called How to Solve 50% of Your Problems, so I bought 2 books. The Thinking Guy. I like that one, actually. Have Vanilla Ice solve it. If there was a problem, I'll solve it. Oh, that's creative. I kind of like that, actually. If things don't go right, go left. I like that. That's wholesome. That is a smart dog. Watch out. The dogs have discovered naval technology. We're screwed. That's wholesome. I like that. Now, any other black lab that I've ever experienced in my life would have just dove into the water and go to get the ball that way. All right, so that's creative ways to solve a problem. All right. The next one, Rom, trending in men's golf. Let's see what's going on here. This continues to be one of the most bizarre campaigns, uses of energy in Washington. Once again, the Senate should vote no on confirming Rahm Emanuel, which is surprising because, he is a super progressive too. Rahm Emanuel of Illinois to be ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the United States of America to Japan. So why is EOC going in and trying to dog on the Rahm Emanuel confirmation? He was big in the Obama administration. But also Rahm in the majors as well. So I don't know which one of these is making a trend, but they're both going out and making a trend. As far as Rahm Emanuel, I will look into that and see what's going on for with that for tomorrow. Let's make a bookmark of that. All right. Looks like all the news is from a couple weeks ago, but we will look into that as well to see what's going on with it and where it goes. All right, we got one more, then we'll head out of here for the day. Blue Letter to Wonho. South Korean singer Wonho drops second mini album titled Blue Letter, apparently. This is apparently K-pop stuff, which I don't know anything about, so forgive me. Blue Letter to Wonho is trending number 2 worldwide. Wonho, you're my number 2 in the worldwide trends. Sales update, Wonho Blue Letter. Blue Letter. Okay, so I guess everybody's got to go out and get the album Blue Letter and Wonho. I have no idea. K-pop, apparently. I don't get it. That's all I got! Let's head out of here for the day, because I'm hungry, and I want to go get some breakfast and watch the Daily Ignoramus, which you should be watching too. So let's change the track and let's go. All right, thanks everybody. That was a great show today. You guys were a lively crowd, a small crowd, but you guys were a lively crowd today. So thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. We'll be back here tomorrow for more contemporary. Make sure you go back and check out the replay of my episode with Trent Ortner last night. It was a great time. Looks like we're going to be doing some work together in the future as well. So definitely go and check that out. I'd love to see it, and I'd love to see more of these little things popping up here like this. These little organizations and these little things going. This is going to be a great time and a great partnership, I think. So go and check him out. Check out untyranny.com where you can go and see all his stuff. And the Untyranny Caucus LP. Go check them out over on Twitter. Otherwise, we will see you guys here tomorrow morning for more contemporary and more fun stuff that goes along with that. Until then, you guys, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care, and we will see you next time.